Welcome back. Welcome to everybody who's taking their time to tune into this week's episode of Control Your Epps-perience podcast. I am the namesake, the host, Alan Epps. It is now Monday, February 8th. I don't know why I did this to myself. I knew the Super Bowl was coming, and there's actually a lot to talk about this week, but I had shit going on. So let's get into it. First and foremost, I want to say rest in peace, rest in heaven, rest in power to Dianne Durham. For those of you who don't know who that is, Diane Durham was the first black U.S. women's gymnastics champion. So before her, what many people, the first black female face anyway, on the main stage, at least for us 80s babies that we saw, was Dobbs. But before her was Diane Durham. Just a little bit about her. She won a USA Gymnastics National Championship, and she recently passed at 52 in Chicago, following what is described as a short illness. She won the all-around the 1983 national championships as a teenager, and yeah, I mean that was at the time where Marjorie was the national darling. She kicked the door open for everybody that we know now: Simone Biles, Gabby Douglas. So still a young lady, You hate to see that, but I'm not really sure what's going on there. Of course, Nigganon, and I don't know who I stole that from, but that's definitely my vocabulary for the conspiracy theorists. Step above the Hoteps. At least the Hoteps think they're rational. These motherfuckers just be blurting shit out. But when I went to go click on the article, the first comment I saw was some idiot talking about, did she just take the COVID vaccine? I'm like, yeah. I really wish that COVID could just be targeted and infect everybody who takes it for idiots, Hold on, I gotta try that again. COVID needs to just find everybody who takes it for idiots and run up on them. Ravage their lungs. Alright, I'm sorry. Hey man, if Chet Hanks and Drake can do that shit, I can do it too. Fuck y'all. But yeah man, it's just sad to see that. Another notable death, Screech. Well, Dustin Diamond is his God-given name, but to many of us, we best know him as Screech from Saved by the Bell fame. Also died, I don't want to say a short illness, but he had stage 4 cancer, which when I was reading the article, his friend said that he was scared to get treatment. By the time he went in, it was already stage 4. He spent a short time in hospice, because I remember they announced it like last week or the week before, and then he passed. So, I mean, that's definitely a part of my childhood. I guess a lot of people it's coming out that he was accused of being a racist, but I vaguely, I Googled a little bit, I can't really find anything specific, but I do remember hearing that and not thinking that was the furthest thing from the imagination, because I know he was a dickhead. He was on one of those celebrity, weight loss shows and being a cunt to everybody. And then I know he got arrested. Hear him tell it. Some dude, he just got engaged, and some dude was being handsy with his fiance. A knife was pulled. He did 4 months. Whatever. So he was definitely a dickhead. But I don't know if I would go so far as to, because I can't cite anything for him being a racist. But at the same time, it's like I wouldn't be surprised if he was. But in the absence of that, rest in peace, Screech, man. Watched the Super Bowl yesterday, and I was just saying, maybe I jinxed it, that this was probably the best playoffs that I've watched as an adult in recent, if any, memory. It was the first time that pretty much every top tier quarterback was in the playoffs and a wild card race all the way down to the final game. For the most part, all the games were competitive, exciting, back and forth, with the exception of the lopsided Super Bowl. I did not see that coming. I thought for sure, I saw a blowout coming, but I thought it would be from the Chiefs. I was not aware that the Chiefs were out their starting 2 left tackles. Their starting 2 tackles on both the left and right side. I knew that they had lost a tackle several weeks ago, over a month ago, and they had made the adjustment, and the line wasn't the same, but clearly Pat was still Pat. But to lose 2 tackles and to have to shift people out of position, that was just insane. And even then, the things that Pat Mahomes was doing, the numbers don't reflect it, but he was just he left it all on that field. He got hit so many times. He was throwing the ball before he could even find the laces and still getting it to where it needed to be. Receivers weren't coming down with passes. It was just fucking ridiculous. Take nothing away from the Buccaneers. Those aren't excuses. They played lights out. They did what they had to do. And yeah, Tommy went and got a 7th ring. I maintain that if Pat Mahomes is allowed to have a healthy career and blessed with the longevity, he will shatter every record that Tom Brady has done. But with that, I mean, you need some continuity. Tom Brady enjoyed, a constant situation over in New England. I'm not sure how many more years Andy Reid's got left. But, yeah, I wish, Pat Mahomes is a phenom, definitely in the future. Man, he threw the ball, on some NFL blitz type shit after doing some Tecmo Bowl, running around like Bo Jackson, and then he was sideways, like diving like Superman, and threw a strike to the end zone, and it got to where it needed to be, and receiver just couldn't come down with the ball, man. So I know we'll see Pat Mahomes. He'll be right back in the mix next year, and hopefully for years to come after that. But yeah, man, it wasn't the game that I was expecting to culminate in the wild playoffs that we've seen. But of course, I'm reminded why people consider my fellow Cowboys fans to be some of the most annoying on earth, because no sooner had the game been over, I go to the Facebook and the groups are going crazy. Oh, see how we just got Tom Brady instead of going after. Shut up! Got Tom Brady for what? Got him broke in half. You forget why Dak is in the hospital or recovering right now, and why every quarterback that filled in for him also got knocked out of a fucking game. And you wanted Tom Brady? Shut the fuck up, dude. Just some people should not be allowed to talk about football. If you use the term system quarterback and have no idea what the fuck you're talking about, and watch that Super Bowl and don't see why that argument was put to rest, shut the fuck up. Honestly and true. The halftime show, was very polarizing. You either loved it or hated it. From what I wasn't bothered by it. It didn't blow me away, but I wasn't disgusted by it. But here's social media tell it. Most of the people on my feed hated it, and then you had some people who loved it, and then I had me questioning, am I no longer cool? Because I thought it was all right. But for the most part, the people who loved it, yeah. But I did think it was okay. I appreciate The Weeknd as an artist. He was playing all that haunted, spooky strip club music that got the 2010s open. The disconnect for me was he didn't look like the Abel of old, where he might, just done a line of coke off a stripper's ass and in his toxic bag and everything. He looked like somebody's dad, or what would we say? And then that jacket, he's too rich for that shit. It was not tailored, bro. And this girl who moved out to LA, so of course she swears she's a fashionista now. Oh, you don't understand the aesthetic. Look, my nigga, I don't know what he was going for, unless it was like a valet, ventriloquist dummy. If somebody posted a picture of Richard Pryor back in the day with a non-tailored jacket, it didn't have sequins like this, but you factor that in with his face is fatter because he's put on some weight, and then that porn stash, and then his hair didn't look as luxurious as it has in the past. I don't know, man. It was just a weird look. But the imagery, the visuals I appreciated the performance, and the message he was trying to give across about how, Hollywood and fame will chew you up and spit you out, and how it tries to change who you are and all this other stuff. But Americans are dumb, especially when watching football. They ain't trying to see art. They just want shiny objects. So I get why it didn't resonate with a bunch of people, just because the visuals did not match the mood, did not match what people would come to see. And then I think a big complaint was that a lot of people wanted some feature artists. They didn't want to sit there for The Weeknd, which I'm like, y'all are fucking disrespectful. The Weeknd got us through some summer, boy. But whatever. It is what it is. In viral internet news, there was a suspect who, I don't know what he was getting arrested for, but he basically tried to holler at a judge. And I saw a clip on Twitter, and I'll play it because it's not long. His wordplay wasn't impressive or anything, but the sheer audacity, I wasn't even mad. And y'all can't see it, but Shorty is bad. Okay, the judge, let me see, her name is Judge Tabitha Blackman. Yeah, so.
On page 26.
How you doing?
All right, I'm good, sir. How are you?
Judge, you are so gorgeous, Secretary. You're gorgeous.
All right, maybe not here.
Oh damn, the curve though. Did y'all hear that? Did y'all hear that? Let's try it again.
Finds probable cause, but maybe not here. Will get you everywhere, but maybe not here. The court finds probable cause on.
Damn, son. But hey, man, you miss every shot you don't take, man. To holler at her through a fucking Zoom arraignment. Yeah, man. Legend. She bad though. So if anybody knows her socials, let me know. Let's see here. Also, Trey Shlongz has leaked his wee-wee on the internet again, and much to my chagrin, I made a post about it. I obviously wouldn't have known. It's just that every girl on my Facebook page was talking about Good Morning to Trey Shlongz, and he had done this years ago, I remember, or at least allegedly he had gone out there. So that was the only thing that I could think of. But evidently he's got a giant wiener, and I'm not allowed to call it a wee-wee. I don't give a fuck. But I let the girls have it because, whatever. It was nice and quiet for a little bit. I was able to get some posts off without being interrupted for once because they were too busy cock gazing. But I do find it kind of funny that, I don't think it was necessarily a publicity stunt for his arrest or anything because I don't think the judge is going to care. Well, maybe, I don't know. But, not too long ago, he was accused of being kind of forceful with women. I don't want to call it outright rape or sexual assault, but I remember Keke Palmer saying that he was being very impositional on her, and then another girl accused him of, slapping her up or trying to fondle her on the balcony or some shit like that. But you see how all that shit went out the window, and I'm not saying Trey should be canceled, innocent until proven guilty, all that shit, but Keke Palmer is a beloved jewel of the culture, and she told y'all about this, but suddenly y'all don't give a shit. I noticed that. And then, I waited to the podcast because I'm always told that I'm shitting on Black Women's Parade. I won't let y'all have nothing. Whoop-de-whoop-de-whoop. So, yeah, I hope y'all enjoyed it, but we see you. And beyond that shit, the latent hypocrisy of the cancel culture, why the fuck are y'all not saying shit to Trace off, but y'all let Chloe Bailey come to tears explaining herself to you fucking nobodies, all because she's grown up and twerked on the internet and walked around in her comfortable drawers. Like, what? Y'all niggas disgust me. Honestly, truly. Moving on to some relationship shit. So, I saw a meme that said, girls don't apologize. They just sleep naked and let you decide if you're mad or not. And I know for a fact that that's the truth. However, I'm a different kind of human being, whereas, okay, even if I'm mad and horny can exist. Now, I've never had angry sex, but I've had petty sex. I will roll over and fucking get my nut in 48 seconds or whatever and go right back to sleep and let you enjoy the balance of your fucking evening. Play with me if you fucking want to. I apologize when I'm wrong. I expect the same. And that also brought me back to another meme that I was going to leave alone, but there was a status. It was like, I've seen it retweeted by a bunch of chicks. I'm not going to say no names or what I'd be thinking about their relationships and the train wrecks that they are. But there was a meme that was like, it was along the lines of the relationship will only last if he likes you more than you like him. And it's from the lady's point of view. And there were a bunch of, yes, retweet, it's true though. And that just lets me know that women, by and large, are not looking for love. They call it love, but they're not looking for love. They're looking for leverage. Okay, because that's the only thing to be gained. Y'all want to be equally yoked in everything else except for getting your way. You want to be able, like the relationship has to hinge on the happiness of the woman, not the man. So that's why you need him to like you more than you like him, because he needs to know that you'll leave him at any point just to get your way. Y'all don't like feeling like that because that means you got to work. Now, I will say, there are a lot of dudes who will exploit that because that's what toxic niggas do. But that don't mean that, and then maybe it's a self-preservation thing, but call it that. Don't call it that's the way to a healthy relationship, a good lasting relationship. No, let's say you're protecting yourself, which, okay, I can respect that, but say that then. Yeah, I wish you would. You'd be over there sticky and mad fucking with me. So I talked last week, I believe, about the shooting in Philadelphia. Well, since then, some video had come out, and it was a Ring camera, which means any of you who have Ring or watched a Ring footage, you know that there's audio. Normally, we don't see audio or get audio with these shootings and everything, but it really did make it that much more grim. You heard the dialogue the back and forth where off camera there's like a shouting match about the snow, and then you see them walk the neighbor, the shooter, and the male neighbor walking back into frame, and they're arguing with each other, and the victim ends up calling him like a cocksucker this, fuck you that, you're soft, woo. They're just jawing back and forth, and then of course the guy goes back to his house to get a gun. Whole time dude's jawing, flipping him the bird. The wife is in on it, flipping him the bird, and then what inexplicably happens is the dude comes back out with a pistol, which is all the way wrong. What I don't understand is why the two people in the street, he was clearly holding the pistol. It's not like he pulled it out from his belt unless he was walking, his stride changed. You can see a gun from far away in there. And they saw the gun, and they just stood there, kept talking shit, and they're like, put the gun down, and then, you know, this is hard to tell because it's a playback, so the sound delay might be different, but several shots went off, nobody moves, and then some more shots go off, and then you hear the guy go, oh, he shot me, and then the woman yelling, and then he stands over her, shoots her a bunch of times, and he must have missed something because it looked like he don't shot her, but she's still moving around. Then he runs up on him because the male victim runs up his steps to the front door, but I don't think he gets in. Guy shoots him some more times, empties his magazine, goes back to his house. Neighbors come out like, hey, what's going on? You hear both of them are still alive, screaming, call the cops, this, he shot me, whoa, clearly in pain. And then the shooter comes back out with an AR-15, it looks like. The neighbors scatter, and then you just hear him just talking, like, he goes over to the woman and says, you should have kept your mouth shut. Then he goes up to the male victim, like, and he's like, oh, I'm a pussy, huh? And he shoots him again, and then that's where it cuts off. And then we find out later, of course, from the news story, he went back in his house and killed himself. With the audio, my only I have a bunch of takeaways. First of all, this wasn't about no fucking snow. They clearly had a shitty relationship prior, and this just boiled over. You factor in, they've probably been going at each other for a while, and then, you know, the pandemic has been putting people short fuses, and who else knows what else is happening was happening in his life. He might have just got fired or some shit, who knows. But it boiled over at that point. The lack of common sense to quit while you're ahead. When you see a gun, get the fuck on, especially if you don't have a gun. Even if you have a gun, is this worth a shootout? No. Get the fuck out of there. Call the police. That's what you white people are good for. And now, 3 people are dead, and the couple left behind a son with autism who has to get raised by his grandparents. So, prayers to them. The grandparents and the son. It's just tragic all the way around. Like I'm a hothead, but I ain't never been so hot that I'm gonna shoot you over some fucking snow. Let alone so hot that my self-preservation goes away, that I see somebody walking up on me with a gun and I'm not holding, and I don't get the fuck. Like, I don't understand that. Yeah. What else is next? Gorilla Glue! Alright, so I initially thought this shit was a fucking joke, but it's real. There were so many layers to this. There was a girl, and it was on Facebook, but I guess she started with TikTok, and she has this really gel down, slick down ponytail, and I thought she was just doing a review of some hair products or even a tutorial, but then it became clear that she was complaining that it wouldn't move, and I'm like, okay. And she had a bottle of popular hair stuff. I'm like, oh wow, yeah, I've heard that shit is strong. But then she said she ran out or some shit, and then she pulled out another bottle of Gorilla Glue spray. Now, for those of you who aren't handy, Gorilla Glue is nothing to be fucked with. Like, in its non-spray form, that bottle, it makes super glue look like fucking chewing gum. Alright, you're not getting that shit off ever. I didn't even really know they made a spray adhesive, but I guess that makes sense. But she used it, and how, you know, the normal formula, when it cures it, it expands and turns brown and yellow. So I guess the clear stuff must not do that. But she gelled, and her edges was laid, her everything was laid. But the issue was, in addition to gluing her hair to her head, that glue's on her scalp. And she decided to make this video after a month of that shit sitting on her head, trying to figure out how to get it off. And now she's going through the videos, trying all the shampoo and tea tree. I'm like, bitch, that's the normal shit you put in your head. They gonna do shit to the fucking Gorilla Glue. So of course that went viral, and then some more details came out. Turns out that Gorilla Glue girl is not a girl. That's a Gorilla Glue woman. That chick is over 40. Evidently, she works at or runs a daycare, so that's just disconcerting that she's in charge of lives and shit like that. And it got so viral that the official Gorilla Glue Twitter like suggested, what was it, rubbing alcohol solution or acetone. But even they were like, yo, it's been a month, so your hair's probably done for. I'm like, man, fuck her hair. Like her hair is definitely gone. I'm worried about her scalp and if she's gonna need a fucking skin graft, like, or if any of that shit's ever gonna grow back again. And then, like the next day, because the internet's invested in this shit, she goes to the ER. You see her laying down, a nurse doing something to her head, but not really. And then, like a meme went around of her scalp peeled back, which was probably just for something else. But then they did another video update of her at the house with a family member presumably rubbing some solution in her head. And honestly, if I was her, I would go get one of those cones, that they put on dogs when they have surgery so they won't like lick their stitches or whatever, and tape that shit around her head, make with a watertight seal, and just pour some straight up rubbing alcohol and let it sit there, and then periodically agitate it to break that shit down if it's even able to break down, because it's cured, man. Like I whatever. But then a lot of people are accusing her of clout chasing, says she did this shit just to go viral. I don't fucking know. I hope not, because that's just the dumbest shit ever. But you can't put nothing past no. She's 40. I thought this girl, and I guess, like I said on Facebook, I'll say something nice, black don't crack. I thought this was a younger girl just because her skin doesn't look old, and it's hard to tell though, because she had these big tarantula cumbrella. Oh, I don't know if y'all heard that, but evidently it's rumored that the first long eyelashes were created by a streetwalker in London to keep sperm out of their eyes of working girls, and they were calling them cumbrellas. So now when y'all have these fucking daddy long leg batwing eyelashes, I'm trying to stand over your cumbrella, y'all know I don't sing. But oh, do I even have a rim shot? Where's that shit at? No, I need to add one. Note to self. Oh yeah, here it goes. Noted. But yeah, man, people just make fucking terrible decisions, and to know that she's in charge of children is disconcerting. But I genuinely, I can't even laugh at her, because I've had that shit on my skin, just on my fingers from working on it. I couldn't imagine that shit on my scalp. That shit is terrible. Evidently she's trying to sue Gorilla Glue. I saw she had a GoFundMe, and it was sitting at like just over 1,000 for the longest, but now I think it's like over 8 or 9. And now she's talking about suing GoFundMe. And then one of my lawyer friends even said that it might have teeth, because you recall that multi-million-dollar lawsuit where the dude burned his nuts on some McDonald's coffee, because evidently, even though McDonald's tells you the coffee is hot as shit and all this, because they didn't warn you about pouring it on your balls. I don't know, but he got paid off that shit. So that's probably what she's trying to do, is get paid because Gorilla Glue didn't explicitly tell her not to put this in your fucking hair, even though they sell this at hardware stores, or even if it's at Target, it's nowhere near the hair care. Her simple ass had got to be glue Gorilla Snot and saw Gorilla on another bottle and thought, and this is me assuming that she didn't do this on purpose, and thought, okay, gorillas, that should be okay. Dumb bitch. Man. Speaking of dumb bitches, so Marjory Taylor Green, she's a House representative from Georgia. She's the one of 2 major QAnon following congresswomen, and you might have seen her on the news clips from. They have some footage of her from like 2017 chasing David Hogg, one of the Parkland survivors, around, accusing him of lying about the shooting and trying to infringe on Second Amendment rights, this, that, and the third. She's also had clips accusing, the elite, which she has now joined, but the elite of being a pedophile ring that worships Satan, aka Moloch, sacrificing chickens, all kinds of batshit crazy shit, debating whether or not 9/11 happened, whatever, and quoting Q, the mysterious Q. Well, she went up to apologize for her and renounce her previous cockamamie beliefs, which basically came down to, oh yeah, it's real, it happened, but if I said that, it's because Facebook let me believe it. And, took no responsibility and basically said that, hey, I can't be trusted to discern fact from fiction, or at least do actual research. So yeah, let me participate in the legislature of this country. That makes sense. The Republicans did not move her from because they could have just taken her off committees on their own, but they didn't. So then a vote went to Congress, and overwhelmingly she was voted out of her committee positions, with noting 11 GOP House reps crossing the aisle to agree with that decision to get her out. Now, I was initially annoyed because I went into the bylaws of Congress of the repercussions for misconduct and stuff like that. And of course, you can get removed, which is very rare. Typically, when you're removed from Congress, you're facing charges at some point. You can get censured, which is basically a form of rebuke from either your party itself or the Speaker of the House, where they make you stand in the in the House floor and get yelled at, basically, and it's formally entered into your record. You can get fined for misconduct, like that idiot who yelled, "You lie" at Obama when he was doing the State of the Union, shit like that. But I was trying to figure out why is this considered punishment, other than the fact that you're not on the committee, you don't get credit for writing the bills, so you're not in there win the formative stages of the bills, but you still get to write the bill. You still get to vote on the bill. You still have representation. You still get to do your job. You just have a lot more free time. Well, so I was annoyed with that because bitch needs to go. But I asked a question on my Facebook, like, besides hoping that since she doesn't have a voice on committees, maybe her constituency will view her as ineffective and vote for someone else. But if her constituency had any kind of fucking standard, she wouldn't be in Congress, number one. This bitch ain't even fit to terrorize a goddamn PTA association or fuck a homeowners association. Like, this is like peak Karening. She looks like the Cart Titan. I don't know if y'all watch Attack on Titan or not, but she looks like the Cart Titan in the face. I don't know if it looks like veneers, dentures, whatever. But the homies on Facebook brought some light to it. That's something I totally overlooked. Was that you gotta understand something? If you're on a committee, you're on the formative stages of laws, and those are the people who get bribed. Lobbied, if you will, by major lobbies like Big Pharma, the NRA, Big Oil, Big Tobacco, and that translates to money that is supposed to go back to that person's district to make jobs, to subsidize schools, or whatever it may be, however they decide to launder and funnel those bribes and everything. But because she's not on a committee, nobody's going to be rushing to kiss her ass, which means less money's going to her district. So there is a very fine, and that might get her voted out. I don't know what the length is, if she's barred from ever being on those specific committees again, or if it's just till the next cycle of Congress, or I don't know. There was not, like I said, there was nothing in the bylaws, and it doesn't really happen that much. So more to follow on that. But yeah, she's been severely clippered, but she doesn't even have the humility in her. She's like, okay, well, that just means I get to talk to people more. I'm like, oh, Jesus fucking Christ. So it's interesting to see how the Republican Party deals with the Q cancer, the Trump loyalist cancer, and the fact that they're, lost their majorities and filibusters and stuff like that. But yeah, there's the other one from Colorado. I don't know if it's Denver, but she's she wanted to carry the gun on the House floor, which in and of itself I'm not mad at. But she's a fucking QAnon strumpet too. So yep, our legislature is ghetto. Do not recommend. And of course, fallout from the whole election debacle. Lou Dobbs, he has the highest rated show on Fox Finance, I think it is, network. He got canceled. Why would they cancel their highest rated show? Is because the voting company is suing the shit out of him for spreading the libelous and false slanderous lies that they have been compromised or been bribed to throw the election in favor of Joe Biden from Donald Trump. And this comes on the heels of Fox News, the network itself, getting sued by the voting machine company for the same thing. So Fox is in trouble. The GOP is in trouble. You love to see it. Not that I'm some super liberal Democrat here, but fuck them too. Talking about the Blue Dobbs. Oh, and again, more fallout from Trump. So, with the rioters and everything, one of these women is like the CEO of some company, and she had the nerve, the audacity, the unmitigated gall to petition the court to allow her to travel to Mexico for a company retreat. Because I guess her company's doing well enough in this pandemic/recession that she can afford to take her employees to Mexico. All right, whatever, cool, right? It's not like she's facing federal fucking charges for participating in an insurrection. Well, I don't even know what her charges are. I don't think anybody's been formally charged with insurrection or treason, but definitely trespassing and stuff like that. And she's from Texas, but of course these charges are in D.C., so she had to petition the D.C. judge. And, I was like, immediately, I'm like, no way the judge is going to allow that. I mean, they let Khalid Browder, not them specifically, but Khalid Browder sat in Rikers for, 2 years? For allegedly stealing a backpack that he didn't steal? Motherfuckers can't get bail. The black guy who was charged with allegedly attacking one of the officers was denied bail. So there's no fucking way a judge is going to let her go to another country that doesn't necessarily extradite people back to the U.S. while she's pending charges. And, of course, my dumb ass, she absolutely did. The judge, it turns out, is a federal judge appointed by, you guessed it, Donald Trump. Now, as I turned on the record button for this, Joe Biden, I think, issued guidance that he's going to not recall, but replace every district attorney appointee made by or under Donald Trump, with the exception of the district attorney who is currently investigating his son, Hunter Biden, which makes sense. He doesn't want to give the impression of impropriety intervening on his behalf, but everybody else is getting replaced. I don't know what the logistics are with that for the judges, because from what I understand, these are lifetime positions, but if he can't get rid of them, he needs to establish a task force that overlooks every decision they make, that makes it inconvenient for them to do shit like this, because what the fuck? And the phrase, oh, there's two different justice systems, like, they know. They just don't give a fuck. Yeah, so, like I said, in the aftermath of Trey Shlongz and then all the mother niggas doing the silhouette challenge with their wee-wees all over Twitter, I posted a meme for the fellas to answer, and if you guys have been on my Facebook, you know that anytime I ask for fella input, some woman somewhere goes, well, I think, yeah. So, while they were distracted, I posted a meme that I got from my group that asked, it said, fellas, be serious, why didn't you take her on a second date? And the stories on there were fucking ridiculous. If you're my Facebook friend, ALLENEPPS, that's worth a read. It was like over 250, 300 comments, which is not especially impressive, but the content, oh my god. One dude, long story short, he was wingmanning his army battle buddy, and he met the shorty, and of course he was worried what she was going to look like, but evidently she looked like Keke Palmer, but super thick. His words, not mine. And they were vibing, and then I guess the topic of if she had kids came up, if she had a 5-year-old from an old relationship where now here's where it goes left, right, up, down, Jesus fucking Christ. The father of the child is evidently her biological half-brother, because in this small town in Georgia, the father was somewhat of a player and had illegitimate kids all over, and nobody knew. So then they found out later that her child's father was her half-brother, that he was a dunkle. That's it. That's the post. I can't even call that ghetto. That shit is some Hills Have Eyes Deliverance type shit. But, yeah. And then, of course, the next day, and I've done this topic before because it's more common with the women. They always have the stories, but I didn't want them to feel left out, especially after, they actually did well to let the men talk. I posted one for the women, and they had some stories on them, but full of the audacity. But you know what what I noticed was the main difference between the male thread and the women's thread was that the male threads there was some rudeness, some inconvenience, the audacity, or just, cost of being a player. Shit happens. And there were those kind of stories on the women, men with no home training, making them pay the bill, split the bill, whatever it may be, being super creepy or very sexually suggestive within minutes of meeting. But there was an air of danger that, in addition to being a woman didn't have the luxury of just being turned off or annoyed or not wanting to be on the date anymore. She also had to reconcile with, is my safety compromised right now? Which at no point was that the issue on the male thread. So fellas, keep in mind what y'all doing. Like, I'm a creep, but I'm a lovable creep. I like to make jokes, get her on my side before I start getting in my freak bag. But understand that at any point in time, whether or not she's laughing or not, she's thinking about is she safe with you. And I think if you keep that in the forefront of your mind, you might move a little different. But yeah, those are some good posts. David Hogg, we mentioned him earlier when we were talking about Marjory Taylor Green, one of the Parkland survivors, has started a pillow company to compete directly with My Pillow. The My Pillow guy's having a bad week. He announced that he's getting dropped from a lot of major big box retailers like Target, Walmart, whatever. And then I guess the Trump Tards alternative to Fox News, Newsmax, wanted to interview him and get him to say some specific things, and he went on one of his rants, and they just literally walked off the set to stop talking to him. It was fucking ridiculous. So, yeah, like I said, you gotta give it to the gays. They're fucking petty, and I fucks that. I hope his pillow sells out. I'm not gonna buy one, but I hope they sell out. In major global news, so a black woman looks like she's going to become the heir apparent to the World Trade Organization. That organization is charged with, setting agreements between countries internationally to keep equitable and free trade around the world, But as you can imagine with our last orange idiot, his America First, which really translated to let's fuck over everyone and threaten them with our military and sanction them and bring everybody on the edge of economic and world war. So during the previous guy, he, I guess, resigned over a year ago, and they just had temporary leadership. And there was a runoff between this woman and, hold on, she is from Nigeria. What is her name? Ngozi Okonjo Iweala. I hope I didn't butcher that, but she's set to become the first woman and the first African to lead the World Trade Organization. The South Korean candidate, who was heavily favored by Trump, pulled out of the race. It doesn't really say why. It says Yoo Myung-hee, South Korean trade minister, and it was her decision to withdraw, but it doesn't cite a reason here, so I don't know what that's all about. But she said that she closely consulted with the United States, so I guess maybe Biden has something to do with it. Yeah, so I'm interested to see what she can do and what impacts that has, not on global trade, but obviously what's going on here as Joe Biden seeks to repair trade relations with basically everybody, to include China. And of course, yeah, but that's dope. Shout out to her. Speaking of black women killing it, so Kamala Harris had to flex her tiebreaker muscle for the first time. There was a vote basically on the budget resolution, which was the precursor to what was eventually announced as Biden's, COVID relief package coming out, but they had to pass the budget first. And it was split right down the middle. 50 Republicans said no, 50 Democrats said yes, and Kamala came through with the, yeah, bitch! Slammed that gavel down, passed it. I hope that somebody would just, every time Kamala has to be the tie-breaking vote, somebody would pan in on fucking Mitch McConnell and hit him with the, while Kamala stares him down like the bride and fucking Kill Bill and just, yeah, take that. Tiebreaker, bitch. Yeah, so I'm sure there'll be more of that to follow. And women going down bad. So Adele, she announced that she's getting divorced from her husband, and evidently, I don't know if he cheated or whatever, but I guess the consensus is that he was wrong, whatever. But, in these instances, I have to stand for the men because too many, and I know this is toxic and trash of me, I recognize that, I just don't give a fuck. But only because, in these same situations, I feel that women put too much of a premium on their hurt ass fucking feelings. And you'll see the same shit happen where the man is the bell cow breadwinner, but somehow that entitles these chicks to like half his shit. At least in their mind. And then of course they want damage. They're entitled to half and then they want damages for their pain. So get the fuck out of here. And then they'll call it child support. They won't even call it, oh, because you hurt my feelings. No, they'll call it child support. I deserve this. Get the fuck out of my face. So, every now and then we get an instance where even though the man was trash, it balances the scales in my mind. You got Kendu Isaacs, and now you got Adele's ex-husband, who is not only getting a shit ton of money, but now it's reported that she's not allowed to sing about him in her albums, which sucks because everybody knows when divas break up, that's when they make their best music. But she can't even mention him. And then, so not only is the music going to be not bad, but it's just not going to be that fire. That's going to affect her sales. So that kind of blows. I think that's kind of hustling backwards for him. Well, no, I guess he's not. That's what I would say. You can talk about me, but I get some of the money. But whatever. I don't even know how you enforce that shit. But if she's smart, I guess she'll date a little bit and break up with somebody and say, oh, what about him? But we'll know the real. But, yeah. Until there's equity in how that shit is administered, you'll find me taking these occasional toxic stances. It is what it is. Fuck up. Nick Cannon, it appears, is trying to mount his comeback to the mainstream. Him and Tiffany Haddish have paired up with some sort of, where is it? Jewish Entertainment Alliance. No, excuse me. Tiffany Haddish and Nick Cannon launched the Black Jewish Entertainment Alliance with 170 other entertainment leaders. So it doesn't really say who, what, but when I read the headline, what that means to me is that clearly he offended the Jews before. This is his way. And when I say the Jews, that sounds so fucking terrible. But I mean, Jewish people who are influential in the entertainment, Viacom, whoever, who got him canceled or got him kicked off of his show. But this is an attempt to repair that relationship, and then it was announced 2 days later that he's going to be returning to his Wild 'N Out position. So on the one, at face value, if I'm not being naive, that's awesome. You know, he's moving forward to repair that, but I don't see him as having any leverage here. So what that tells me is that he was allowed to come back, and now he's a puppet for whatever agenda may or may not exist. And it doesn't have to be something nefarious like some of that Hitler shit that you hoteps like to quote, that, you know, the Jews are buying up all the governments and all this other. But it can be, you know, to lessen any semblance of credible or good faith critiques, particularly of Israel, because now it's gotten to the point where you say anything about Israel, no matter what the fuck they do, that labels you an anti-Semite. But these are the games you play when you spout hotep bullshit on your show. But you know, he hasn't even come back out with the Dr. Sebi doc, which I'm not clamoring for. You know, y'all know how I feel about Dr. Sebi, but he said he was going to do it, and it's been shelved. So that tells me that somebody's got some leverage over him now, and I guess he's doing what he's got to do because he felt like black people threw him under the bus after, you know, they stood with him at first, and then he apologized, and then they were like, "Fuck you, Nick." So he's doing him. Whatever, I don't care. But it's just interesting to see how this is playing out. And then, of course, Tiffany Haddish is part of it, so I don't know what that's all about. But whatever. All right, some more grim shit, and then I'm gonna leave with my final thoughts. So there was a cop in Louisiana, and he ended up committing suicide. He released 2 videos, and he basically said that the world is so fucked up. There's so much division. Cop being a policeman is the hardest job in the world, but it's also hard to see police brutalizing he's black, brutalizing his people. He didn't know how to reconcile it, and it's totally been a toll on him, and he can't do it anymore. And it sounded like he was just quitting his job right then and there, but then he went in front of, I think, City Hall and killed himself. And, you know, it's a tragedy because it's a loss of life. I'm not being that callous. But beyond that, I know I'm supposed to feel bad, but I don't, because I listened to this man release his first video, and it was about a 10-minute long video. And hold on, I will do him this solid because I'm not trying to be disrespectful. This is just how I'm internalizing this. His name is Clyde Kerr III, and he took his life Monday, this was written on the 3rd, so the Monday before the 3rd. He took his life Monday outside of the Lafayette Parish Sheriff's Office. Yeah, so you can Google his name, listen to his videos if you want. But my takeaway from his first, I didn't watch the second video, but the first video was basically saying, you know, he went right into his Blue Lives Matter, All Lives Matter, Green Lives Matter, all this other bullshit, which already let me kind of know what was going on, but I wanted to hear him out. And it came down to that he acknowledges that the police treat his people wrong. They brutalize and they murder. But instead of having the self-awareness and putting aside his cognitive dissonance to say that if you know that, then you can't in good conscience say that black lives matter, that green lives matter. Because when a blue light is lost, and there's no such thing as a blue light, but when a cop is killed, we know what happens after that. Somebody's facing the death penalty, assuming they don't get executed in the street in the first fucking place. Alright? But instead of rationalizing that, he internalized it as he's the victim, that he's caught in the middle, that he feels like he's betraying his people, but this is his job, his identity, his whole life is to be a cop. He was a military veteran, so he's worn another uniform, and I call that a fucking cop-out, because are you being a cop just to wear the uniform for the respect, or are you doing it to make a difference? Because when we're in the military, we're taught accountability, self-accountability, and accountability of our peers. So if you truly feel that uniform is your calling, then you have a duty to check your people. Because black people don't pose an undue threat to police. More white people kill more cops than anybody in this country. So yes, policing is a dangerous job, but if you want to boil it down to who your biggest threat is, it ain't fucking us. But you know who's at the most risk for police brutality? There you go. And I recognize he was, I've had 2 friends kill themselves. I'm not somebody who shames people who commit suicide. I don't think, depression is the illness, suicide is the symptom. Okay, like you die from depression, you just through suicide. So it's especially when there's chemical imbalances, and this is not a rational person making this decision. But I see cause and effect here, and an inability or unwillingness to just step outside of himself. He could have quit that job. He could have become a lawyer to fight for his convictions. At the very least, he could have found something that would have allowed him to stay around for his child. I believe he had a son. His black son, who now has to navigate this world where police brutality is still a thing without his father. And oh, by the way, I don't, some people are making him out to be a martyr and everything, but, and that's why, that's another reason that this is stupid. Not that because it's not a sacrifice. But that's what they're going to turn it into. Because what does it do to us? We look at him like, damn, another black man's gone. But you're no help to us dead. And if that was your hope to be, what were you hoping to happen? That your fellow police officer would be like, damn, we lost one of ours. We need to change. No, they're going to do to you what they do to Martin. They're going to say that policing is the hardest job and the pressures are a silent killer. And look what the leftists and the Black Lives Matter did. They turned this country apart. They're forcing our officers to kill themselves. We need to come together. Telling us to shut the fuck up, just like they pervert Dr. King's message and legacy as if they didn't shoot him in the fucking face. So what did you really do here? Nah, man, I'm supposed to feel bad, but I don't. I reckon I acknowledge there's loss here. There's loss of life. And there is a waste. But I don't feel bad because there were so many other ways for you to go. So many other ways. And I obviously I didn't know the man, but I can't chalk this up to some kind of chemical imbalance. I can't chalk this up to some ongoing depression. This was you not wanting to reconcile your worldview in front of damning evidence of it telling you that shit ain't what you thought it was. And rather than dealing with that, you quit. So, but I hope he found whatever peace he was looking for in the next round, and I really hope that his kids or kid, I don't know if it's kid or kids. Oh yeah, you gonna talk with his son. Yeah, it doesn't say how many kids. But who knows? Yeah, that was. It's worth to watch. Yeah, I mean, y'all can watch it. It's like 20 minutes of video. I only watched the first one. In addition to that, Daniel Pearl, so he was a Wall Street reporter who was killed years ago. They actually had a video of him getting his head cut off. I want to say it was around 2001. Oh, when was he killed? Oh no, killed. He was kidnapped in 2002. So this was after 9/11. I think when it was New Year's Eve, when this shit went viral on the internet, and I remember we just toasted, and I was drunk, and I turned over, and I was like, "What is that on the TV?" And I just saw them cut this man's head off, and I was just like, "Okay, fuck you." But yeah, they let the guy out, and I'm sure this is the direct response to Trump pardoning war criminals and all this other shit. I remember getting to the arguments with the comment section, the white people who, oh, this is terrible, what about his family? I'm like, yeah, well, tell that to the people of that Navy SEAL that Trump pardoned, or that Army officer who his whole platoon said he was a war criminal murdering piece of shit that is being treated like a fucking hero. Y'all think this shit don't have fucking consequences. But I am legitimately sad for the Pro family. Like, honestly, that shit was horrible. And this is an egregious miscarriage of justice. But it's Pakistan. What are you going to do? They hid Bin Laden. Yeah, that's pretty much all I have. I'm going to end on these Trump rioters in my own. What I hope to be my final thoughts, but white people stay whitening, so I'm sure this will come up again during the course of 2021. But I think the funniest thing to me about these so-called patriots that stormed the Capitol is that they get really, really, other than the fact they thought they were just going to go back to work like nothing happened. Man, being white must be a dope-ass drug. But they really get annoyed when you call them what they are, which is traitors, insurrectionists. They get offended. Oh, we're being a pain. We're standing up. It's for us. And here's my thing. They like to cite and quote the founding fathers and about how the blood of the tree of liberty must be refreshed with the blood of tyrants. Thomas Jefferson quotes all this and all that. But they overlook the fact that when the 56 people, was it 56? I think it was 56. Hold on. People signed Declaration. Yes, 56 people signed the Declaration of Independence, and all of them acknowledged, freely celebrated that they were committing an act of treason against the crown. I'm pretty sure Thomas Jefferson said it, but I can't find the direct quote. But I remember learning that they knew and openly celebrated that they just committed treason against the crown. That's England. Meaning that the gallows awaited them if their young nation failed, if they were captured. And they reveled in it. There was pride there. So if you truly feel that you were doing what needed to be done to save this country, to preserve your right, whatever other bullshit that you let that orange idiot gas you up with, why are you shying away from it? Why? And not just shying away from it, you motherfuckers are killing us. Some dude killed himself and he was awaiting charges. And again, nobody's been charged with treason or insurrection. They've been charged with like vandalism or felony trespassing, shit like that. That if you're just looking at somebody's criminal history, you won't necessarily know it had anything to do with the Capitol. But instead of facing those charges, you shoot yourself? And you're fucking cowards. You're not revolutionaries. You never were. You're fragile. And you see your white privilege, your white supremacy slipping away. Your hold on everything slipping away ever so slowly. Ever so slowly. And you don't know how to act. So I laugh and I pity these idiots. And at the same time, I wish one of them would. I'm still waiting on my moment for one of them to get beside me and put me in a place to go viral. Not that I want to go viral, but I will earn it. I promise you. Because, like I said earlier in the pod, that woman's going to Cancun like she's not facing fucking charges. Like that same judicial system didn't ultimately kill Khalif Browder from the trauma that he sustained on Rikers Island while waiting for a court date. But this bitch is going to fucking Mexico. And then they're telling us they don't know how to charge all the other idiots involved in the protest. It wasn't a fucking protest, it was a goddamn riot, but whatever. They don't know how to charge them. Especially when it comes to the deaths of Officer Sicklick and the assaults of the other officers. Where they figured out how to charge that one black man because his ass is locked up for assault on a police officer with no bond. But that's the only one they caught. That's sea of whiteness, but they caught the black dude. Typical. But they don't know how to charge him because they have a camera and they were like, how are we? There were like 30, 40 people attacking the Officer Sicklick before he died. So how they going? So why is it so puzzling on what to do here? Because I'm instantly reminded of Lakeith Smith, a 15-year-old in Louisiana, who was in the car when his friend decided to rob a convenience store. Now, whether or not Lakeith knew what was going on is besides the point because he stayed in the car. And I'm not saying that makes him innocent, but he stayed in the car. His friend went in there and robbed the store, and then the police showed up, gunfight ensued, and they killed Lakeith's friend. The cops killed Lakeith's friend. Okay, you play stupid games, you win stupid prizes, right? Well, Lakeith is doing 30 years to life for the murder of his friend. The friend that the police killed. And the legal justification is that a death occurred during the commission of the felony, so that makes you guilty of felony murder, even though you didn't pull the fucking trigger. Now, that law is intended, so like if you carjack somebody and all you meant to do was steal the car, but you hit the person too hard and they passed out and died, yeah, you committed felony murder. Or if you stole a car, you ran over somebody in the street and they died, yeah, felony murder. But the police killed him and the remaining accomplice to the theft, and who, if the guy had lived, he would have had a defense for not being involved in the theft. He said, hey, I was just in the car and this dude decided to steal. But now he's got felony murder. But you can't charge these motherfuckers who participated in an insurrection that resulted in the death of a cop. You remember how we told earlier that blue lives, we black people know blue lives matter because our black asses weren't fucking there. And you see what happens, that a black man is in fucking jail for it. But they don't know how to charge the rest of these motherfuckers. This is exactly why I'm glad it happened. I'm glad Trump was president. I honestly and truly wish he won again because we are already trying to kumbaya this shit away. Now I give Biden the credit where he kept true to his word. He ended the federal contracts for the private prisons and he's trying to get rid of the district attorneys and everything, but I'm not satisfied. I'm not, because even if he does everything on his agenda, I'm not saying things aren't better, but this is still America. It's still America. And if it comes by executive order, if and when he loses, or if Kamala loses, or whoever comes back, it can be undone by executive order. And speaking of undone, why the fuck hasn't he undone the goddamn Space Force? That shit, that's the one reason I'm glad I'm not in the fucking Air Force anymore, because if they put me in the Space Force, I'd have separated. Fuck them. Two infinity head asses. Alright, y'all, man, I've been rambling. Y'all take care, man. I'll be back at it next week. Hopefully Sunday. Saturday or Sunday. And yeah, there's no football now. So maybe I should be able to get this out of the way Sunday. But again, y'all, I do this for the culture, for you guys. Hit me up on Facebook while I'm out of jail. Again, Alan Epps, or you can control your Epps-perience fan page. You can hit me up on Twitter at Dependence Mightier, DAPENIZMIGHTIER. All the shit is at the bottom of the description. My Instagram, Control Your Experience, separated by underscores. Yeah, man. Till next time. What we used to say in the 90s? What was that? One. Oh, wait. Let me try it again. It's not dramatic. God damn it. Where's my drop? It's times like this where I'm jealous of the JVP, where they got a sound guy, a screen guy. Alright, yeah. One.